Okay, testing here, just making sure before we start class that everything's okay. I'm checking if anybody is there and you see or hear something that's amiss, let me know. Still have a couple of minutes here before we start class. This is the general class. This is Thursday, July 30th. So, thinking everything looks pretty good here. A couple of people watching. Sound, light coming through okay. Good morning. Thank you. Thanks, Chrissy. Appreciate that feedback. Great. Good to see everybody. Just to let you know, I am going to try speaking louder. I also have ordered a microphone, which I am not a microphone person, but I'm going to try having a lapel microphone to see if it helps with the sound. Especially for next week, when there will be some people taking class while I'm recording. Not very many people, but you do have the chance to take in-person classes wearing masks next week, these same times, and then we'll be recording. And there'll be people in here, but you won't see them, so it'll be just like we are now. But anyway, a microphone, it may not be here at the beginning of the week. I've ordered it, and we'll see if it might help with the sound a little bit. So I'm tweaking this as best I can. You know, this is not my forte, technology, but it's better than nothing in this day and time we're going through, I think. So if you could get comfortable. So if you are seated comfortably at home, whether you're in a chair, like a chair that is pretty firm and preferably with no arms on it, or feel free to sit on the floor. You all have been taking class with me, that have been taking class with me a long time. No, you can sit on the floor, whether you sit cross-legged on the floor or stretch your legs out. You can use blocks for support to support your hips a little bit if that feels better. But get comfortable, and if you are in a chair, just get your feet hips distance apart and parallel, so your toes are not turning out, you're facing forward, you feel good up into your hips. And then just close your eyes and let yourself feel your shoulders soften down away from your ears, and watch your breath now coming in and going out through your nose. So feeling the breath as it comes in and goes out. And at first, just watch your breath. Don't control it. See if your breath wants to be a little deeper or a little more shallow, but just accept your breaths in and out. And see if you can lengthen upward through the top of your head, so you have lots of space in your spine and more room to breathe, really. And if you are comfortable, to start to feel your breath come into your belly as you inhale. So your belly expands on your inhale. And then if you're able to bring your breath in a little bit deeper and a little higher, so you inhale into the belly and then into your ribs, feeling your ribs expand a little bit. And if you can come into that third part of your breath, not forcing the breath, but if you can inhale into the belly and then into your ribs, and then up into the chest a little bit. And when you exhale, imagine the breath coming out of the chest first, and then your ribs, and then your belly. your next exhalation, bring your hands out beside you here now. So if you're on the floor, you can lightly touch the floor with your fingertips. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down through the midline to rest in front of our chest. And then we'll reverse the arms, keeping the hands together, inhaling up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And let's inhale the arms straight out from our shoulders. Flex your hands here now. Bend your elbows just a little bit. Draw your hands back towards you a little. And then when you exhale, press out into the heels of the hands, feeling the undersides of the arms. And then start to bring your hands forward of your shoulders. You're still flexed here with your hands. And let's bring our right hand right in front of our left fingers and press the left fingers gently into your right fingers there, just to wake up a little more through the wrists. And then release, turn your left fingertips down, your right hand again is in front, and you're going to press your left fingers into your right to wake up a little more. And then we'll switch. Right hand comes fingertips up, left hand comes in front, fingers on the fingers of the right hand, and then press into your left hand a little bit there. And then turn your right fingertips down towards the ground and bring your left hand there and just gently press your right hand into your left. And then we'll release. Now shake your hands out a little bit. Just really shake. Shake all the way into your arms if you want to, so you feel really released there in your hands. And then we'll bring the hands forward again. Turn your palms away from each other. Fingers pinky fingers face up, thumbs face down. And then bring your right wrist on top of your left. Clasp your hands together. Drop your shoulders down. Feel your palms together there. And then lower the hands. And you can keep looking at your hands and stay with the hands just down a little bit, releasing your neck there. Some of you might want to send the hands up through that hole you've created and then bring your head down to where you rest your forehead on your hands. This is totally not necessary. You can keep the arms long. Just be where you're comfortable to be, and then just breathe. Let your neck release. And then send the hands back down if they were up and through. Bring them back forward again of your chest. And we're going to switch and bring the left wrist on top of the right. Clasp the hands. Feel the palms into each other there. But soften your shoulders down. And then lower the hands. Keep your gaze on your hands here. Now you may just, again, stay right there. Or send the hands down and then up through that hole you've created. And if it's possible, to rest your forehead right there between your eyebrows on your hands. You can do that. And let yourself release your neck and breathe. Just enjoy feeling your ribs expand as you inhale. And then send the hands back down and through and forward again from your chest. And release your arms on out beside you here now. Shake them out again a little bit. And we'll take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist towards our left. Bringing your right hand around, maybe to your left knee, maybe to the midline, depending. Don't force anything. Come around in your twist as far as feels good. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center and off to the other side. Now, press into your feet a little bit. You know, and we all have different parts of our feet on the floor. If you're in the chair, press down into the soles of the feet. If your heels are on the floor, press them down on the floor a little bit. Or maybe the outside edges of your feet. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, we're going to come on back into center again. So coming on a little forward in your chair, if you're in your chair. And from here, turn your feet out a little bit and let your left leg stretch long, right? Now, if you're on the floor, you can do one of two things. You can be on the floor, bring the right foot in towards you a little bit so that you come into a comfortable feeling in your hip. Or, if you want, you can leave your foot out like we are kind of in our chair, all right? So that's up to you. If you're on the floor, you adjust accordingly. And then, from here, we're going to bring our right forearm down towards our thigh and come into side stretch. Bringing the left arm up, and then if your shoulder allows you, bringing that left arm over towards your head. You know, if your shoulder bothers you, don't do it. Hand can stay up. You can have your left hand on your hip if that's better. So be where you're able to be. Let yourself just enjoy opening up through the left side of the body. Try not to drop into your right shoulder there. Really let yourself find length and space between your shoulder and your ear. And then we'll come on back up and we're going to switch. So we'll stretch the right leg long. Left leg can come in however feels good if you're on the floor. And then we're going to come over into that side stretch. Again, arm can be up, hand can be on the hip, or you can draw that arm down so it comes towards your head. But just enjoy, open through the side of the body there. Feel the space between the ribs. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up to sitting and bring our feet on back. If you're on the floor, stretch your legs out long. If you're in your chair, separate your feet maybe a little bit wider and come forward a little bit with a nice long back. So try not to roll forward from your shoulders. Try to think of coming forward from your low back in a seated forward bend. On the chair, you can have hands on your thighs. You can come down farther, elbows above the knees. I know some of you in the chair like to reach your hands down more towards the floor. And if you're on the floor, you can come as far forward as you want. Reach for your toes if you want, or let your hands rest beside your legs or on top of your legs. One more breath here. And then we'll rise to come on back up. If you're in your chair, bring your feet on back together. Let your arms come on out beside you again. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Take a couple breaths here in your seated mountain pose. Let it feel good as you lengthen up through the top of your head. Feeling just a little bit more awake now. And then we'll release our arms on out beside us. And we're going to come on around towards either hands and knees, or if you know you can't be on your knees, turn your chair around now. So you have the seat of the chair facing you, and you can have your hands down onto the seat of the chair. Or you can be down on hands and knees. If your knees need some cushion, grab a blanket and let yourself put your knees up on a blanket if you need to. So take your time. You know, if your wrists bother you, you can be on fists, right? You can be on fists, which takes that crease out of your wrists. You're more than welcome to hold the edge of the chair seat if you have one there. Or you can, if you feel comfortable, more comfortable to come to your forearms, you can do cat-cow on your forearms if you need to. So take your time, take a nice breath here. And then as you exhale, draw up into your cat pose. Tailbone reaches down, navel draws towards the spine. And on your next inhale, send your tailbone back and up. Move your way back into your cow pose. Now you can be more neutral in your spine if that feels better for you, rather than that tilt and come into that back bend there. So exhale, draw your tailbone up under you, let yourself move through. And on the inhale, send the tailbone back and up. So take your time now with these. And if you want to stay in cat or cow without moving, do it. If it feels better to continuously flow through with your breath, move at the speed of your own breath. You know, it doesn't have to be the same timing as me. You can let yourself move through your back. Let it feel like you're really like you're awakening your spine. And then finish off the one that you're on so that you can come back to a more neutral spine. And just be easy there. And now, if you're on the chair, just step your left foot a little bit forward, right foot back, and keep the heel on the floor. A little tiny lunge, just to wake up your calf. If you're on the floor, send that right foot back, curl the toes under, so that if you're down here on the floor or blocks, you're letting yourself come here, curl the toe under, and reach back into a bigger lunge. But find a calf stretch there. And then we're going to switch. So again, you can come into a little mini lunge, get your calf. If you're down lower, you can come into that full lunge if you feel comfortable to do that. So, but just find a really good calf stretch for yourself. And then we'll come on forward and get the feet right underneath us, hips distance apart and parallel. Take your time. You use whatever supports you need. You are more than welcome to stack blocks up on your chair so that you don't come any farther forward. You can come down in your forward bend with your forearms towards the seat of your chair. You can always use the back of the chair if you need to be higher too, or come on forward if it feels good to you into a full standing forward bend where your arms and hands are down more towards the ground. But just breathe. Let yourself allow the pose to help the backs of your legs open up. So knees can be soft. You certainly don't want to lock your knees. Try not to jam back into locked knees. Feel your sitting bones right over your heels. Feel the weight of your head. Maybe nod your head a little bit or shake your head no a little bit. Letting yourself feel that weight of your head here now. One more breath. And then bend your knees, press into your feet. We're going to rise up to standing, and we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Finding our mountain pose here now. So adjust as you need. Get your feet right underneath you. Let yourself bend your knees a little bit. Look at your feet. Lift your toes up briefly. Feel like you're very centered on your feet, so you're not rolling to the outside or the insides of your feet, and your knees are centered over your feet. And then let your toes come on back down. Let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your heart. Feeling very equal now, if you can, between your feet, all the way up through your legs into your hips. Tailbone drops down. Imagine you're stacking your hips over your ankles and your shoulders over your hips. And then just feel your hands gently meeting there, right there at the place they want to come to, right in front of your chest, in front of your heart. Just enjoy feeling your body in space here. Imagine for a second that you're being supported by the air all around you. And then we'll let our arms release on down beside us. And from here, bring your hands behind you and interlace your fingers, clasp your hands. So I'm going to turn around and show you. Let your hands just be interlaced very easily. Elbows can be soft. And then see if you can bring your hands to the right. All right, so as you bring your hands to the right, you may want to fold the whole left forearm onto your low back and squeeze your palms towards each other. Or you may just want to barely move the hands over. That depends on your shoulders. So wake up your shoulders here. And then bring the hands on back down and send them to the left. Again, maybe just a little bit. Maybe you want to fold your right forearm onto your low back. You may even feel good to really squeeze the palms towards each other. Feel those hands really squeezing together there, activating your shoulders. And then go ahead and bring the hands on back down into center. And then from here, release your arms on down beside you. We're going to inhale both arms all the way on out and overhead and come into a little chair pose. So sit back like you're about to sit in a chair. Now it can be a really high chair, or you may decide to bend your knees a little deeper, shift your weight a little more to your heels, and let yourself come here into chair pose. Now, imagine your inner thighs are melting down towards the ground. Knees are lined up over the center of the feet. So really strengthening now through the quads. Really feel your legs, your hips. One more breath. And then press into the feet and rise back up into mountain pose. We're going to come into a sun salutation. So releasing your arms down beside you, we'll inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to come forward into standing forward bend. Now, on your next inhale, find a nice flat back. So adjust your feet if you need. Let yourself find your hands where you want them to go. Maybe to your shins, maybe to your thighs here, maybe to your chair or to your blocks. So you have a flat back. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge here. Now press your feet gently away from each other. Really feel your lunge here. And we'll come on into a downward facing dog pose. So all different choices for how high your hands are in dog. If you feel better, you can put your hands up like this on the back of a chair if you have a chair like this where it feels a good height, or you can come lower down to the seat of your chair, letting yourself reach back, finding that length through the spine. You can use blocks, or you can be hands on the floor, which means you'll be more like an upside down V. So you got to find the dog that feels good for your shoulders. Really let yourself hug your elbows towards each other. Find that space in your spine. And on the next inhale, we'll come out like we're going to do a push-up, out towards a plank. And, totally up to you how far you go with this. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. If you want to put your knees down and do a half plank, and I know a lot of you like to come onto your forearms to get out of your wrists, you can do that. You can bend your elbows a little bit if you want, do a little push-up, and then we'll come on back into down dog. So let yourself reach back through your tailbone. Find that sense of being very equal through the sides of your body. And we'll step the right foot forward to come into lunge. So if you're on the floor, if you need to put your left knee down to get that right foot forward, do. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend. So feet hips distance apart and parallel. You go where it feels good for you. If you need to keep that back flat, do it. If you feel fine to release over your legs more, even holding your elbows, you can do that. And then come to watch your breath, feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose. And let your inhales expand your ribs in all directions. Nice full breaths. Only you know how far you want to go in a forward bend. You don't want to feel any kind of pain in your back. If your backs of your legs, your hamstrings feel tight, you can soften the knees, feel your sitting bones over your heels. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's come into a little chair pose again. So sit back, feel equal between your feet. Find your chair pose here. Doesn't have to be low, remember. You can barely bend your knees and be just fine. But think about like if you were about to go sit back in a chair. One more breath. And then let's rise up, press into the feet. Inhale the hands up through the midline of the body. And on the exhale, open the arms, bend the knees as you come back into standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find that flat, long back. So again, you can be in hands on whatever height you want to be to find that flat tabletop back. And this time we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. So let yourself imagine you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. And make sure that this front right knee is not going out beyond your ankle, right? So that you're safe there in your knee. You can really open up the back of the left leg. You can feel the whole body in the pose. One more inhale. And exhale into that downward facing dog pose again. So take your time, moving on back into down dog. Let your elbows hug gently towards each other, really gently, so you feel like you can feel that engagement in a good way up into your shoulders. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards a plank. Again, like you're going to do a push-up. You can come to forearms if you need to. You're more than welcome to bend your elbows. Let yourself move a little bit in elbows towards the ribs. So if you're going to do a little yoga style push-up, elbows come inward. And we'll come on back into down dog from here. So feel your hands equal on the surface they're on. Reach equally through the sides of the body. And we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge here. So adjusting, again, making sure that left knee is not going beyond your ankle. Finding your lunge. Just imagine you're reaching out through the top of your head and back through that inner right heel. And we'll step forward from here back into our standing forward bend. So again, you follow where you're able to be. If you need to stay up higher, do. If you can, let your head hang, do. Of course, if that puts too much into your back, don't do it. Keep your head more in line with your spine. And another way, to support yourself is to put your elbows above your knees with the knees bent. And that can give you a lot of support if your back bothers you at all. One more breath. And then come up enough. Have some support under your hands if you can. Maybe the blocks, maybe the chair. And we are going to bring our left foot more to the midline of the body and cross our right ankle in front of our left. So the toes are still facing forward. And you can let your knees bend. You can be up higher. If you feel like you want to go lower, you're going to feel it more in the back leg, the left leg. I mean, if you've done the other leg, just think about your back leg getting a little bit more here, all the way up into your outer hip. So it's a good sciatic stretch. It's really a good stretch if you walk a lot or if you run. So take your time. Let yourself breathe here for another couple of breaths. Let go of your jaw and your face now. Think soft. Soft through your face, soft all around your eyes and your mouth, your throat. And now come up enough so that all you need to do is switch. So now the right foot goes more to the midline, left foot comes in front, or just do the opposite of what you just did. So toes are kind of forward, knees can be bent. You're trying to get your feet pretty much on the floor. That front foot might be a little more rolled to the outside. That's fine. But just come to where you can be and then give the legs a chance to adjust. Just by coming to watch your breath. And if something is talking to you a lot, then see if you can imagine breathing into that place where you need a little bit more relief, right? So bring the breath to where you need it. Good, one more breath. And then come up enough to where you can get your feet right underneath you again. Hips distance apart and parallel. We're going to bend the knees, press into the feet, rise up, and inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And again, keep the hands in the midline as you inhale them all the way up. And on the exhale, open the arms and come forward again. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. And we're going to just put our hands where we like for down dog and walk into a downward facing dog pose here. And if you want to walk your dog, bend a knee at a time. You might even turn your head side to side. Let yourself just release a little bit there. If you want to wag your tail, let your tail wag a little bit. Let your hips go side to side. Only you know how all this feels for you. And then we'll come on out towards that plank again. Now, if you want to do a back bend here, you can. You don't need to. If you're on the floor, you can come to your forearms and do a sphinx. You can let yourself come into a little cobra, or you can come down and through with the chest towards an up dog as well, where either your feet are tops of the feet on the floor or toes are curled under. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Take your time. You don't have to do these back bends. You can do what feels good. You can come out to plank and stay there. So we'll come out to plank. If you want to add a back bend, you can. Totally unnecessary, and only, again, if it feels all right to you. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. From here, let's bring our right foot forward. Come into lunge. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend. And let yourself release to where you're able to be. Whatever supports you like. Nice full breaths. And see if you can let your inhales and exhales even out a little bit. So as you breathe in, let yourself count, whatever count you reach. See if you can reach that same count when you exhale. And then let's bend our knees, press into our feet. We're going to rise on up and inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down. Close your eyes. If you're comfortable to close your eyes in mountain pose, do. Otherwise, keep your eyes open and look straight on out as though you're looking at the horizon. And just enjoy feeling a little more energy flowing through your body here now. After we got very warmed up through all parts of the body in our sun salutations. Unfold our arms on down beside us. And shake out a little bit. Move around if you need to walk around a little bit, dude. I'm going to turn my chair around. We're going to start with a warrior one, which is a front-facing warrior. So if you're familiar and you know you'd rather have your chair turned the other way or not use it, that's fine. But we're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior one here now. So you can keep your hands on the chair. You can even put your foot more underneath the chair so that you have a little more support there. You have to step that right foot back the distance that's good for you, and the foot is on the floor fully. The heel is turned in slightly. It turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees. But your shoulders are square right there to the front of your mat. We'll bring our hands to our hearts here. So we're looking directly forward. Shoulders are around square. Don't force your hips. If you're in a longer stance, don't make yourself bring this hip around and cause discomfort. And then look at your front left knee there. Make sure you're not bent out beyond your ankle so that then you can just look forward and enjoy coming into this basic warrior one pose. And now release your arms. We're going to inhale the arms forward and up. Now you can widen them out into a wide V. They can stay forward or they can go directly up so that your upper arms are by your ears. Let yourself, if you choose to look up, you can. That's up to you. Keep the belly engaged. Let yourself enjoy coming into your warrior one here. Inhaling up the front of the body and exhaling down the back of the body. Imagine really that you're surrounded by your breath here in a big circle. And then we'll release our arms on down. We're going to bring the hands down and come into lunge. Releasing now the right heel off the mat, reaching directly behind you. You can have your hands up as high as you want. Back of the chair, seat of the chair, down to blocks of the floor. Because we're going to add a twist here. So letting your left hand come to your left hip and turning into your twist. Lengthening all the way back through that inner heel and out through the top of your head. Now you can stretch the left arm up if you want, straight up from your shoulder, or you can keep the hand down. One more breath. And then come on back, down with the left hand. We're going to come into pyramid. We're going to bring now that right foot all the way to the floor. The heel is still turned in a little bit, so your foot's turned out 20 or 30 degrees. Both legs are straight. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips, and you're trying to let yourself elongate your spine. So you can be up high. You can be up higher here. This is a great pose to do at your kitchen counter at home as well. You can have your hands down to the floor of the blocks if you want to go lower. Just feel your thighs engaging upward and let yourself enjoy feeling equal through the sides of your body, and zip up your belly a little bit as you send your tailbone back. One more breath. And then we're going to bend the front knee, step forward to get our feet right underneath us. And then we'll press into our feet and rise up. Inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Take a breath here in your mountain pose. Let your hands come a tiny, tiny little bit apart. Just a little bit so they're not quite touching. And then softly let your thumbs and your pinkies come together, but keep the rest of your fingers apart, like you're making a little bowl with your hands here. And then softly let the rest of the fingers all come to meet each other. And we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. Shake out just a little bit. And we're going to come into warrior one on the other side. So as you come towards the front of the mat, stepping your left foot back, whether it's 2 feet or 3 feet or 4 feet, right? You've got your foot firmly on the floor, right knee is bent, no farther forward than your ankle. So you don't want to cover your toes with your knee. Make sure you're aligned there for your knee's sake. And then we'll come on back with the hands again to the heart, letting ourselves look forward. So shoulders are square towards the front of your mat. So just enjoy feeling very equal from your feet all the way up through your legs into your hips. And we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. We're going to inhale the arms forward and up. Again, you can do a wide V. You can keep the arms forward. You can bring the arms closer in towards your ears if you want to, so that the hands are above your shoulders. only you know how good your shoulders feel, right? So let yourself find where you can be there, opening through the front of the body. Feet equal in the floor, energy all the way up and out through the fingertips. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands on down, and we're going to come into that lunge, remember. So let the heel now come directly behind your foot. You can be up high, you can go lower, finding your lunge here that's a comfortable height for you to add that twist. And then we'll bring our right hand to our right hip, and we're going to turn, trying to let ourselves stay fairly level here in our hips. You can put your palm onto the low back there and feel if you're dropping into that left side. And then you can decide if you want to stretch the arm up or keep the hand down. Lengthening through the entire body here. Really reach into that inner left heel back there. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hand on back, come to lunge. Now we're going to come into pyramid. Back foot comes onto the floor. Both legs are straight now. You might have to adjust your stance. You might have to get shorter. You might want to get longer. That is totally up to you. Feel your thighs engaging upward. If you need to rise your body up higher, use whatever you need, right? Let your thighs now, they'll work a little bit. So feel the thighs lifting upward. Reach back through your tailbone. And let yourself enjoy coming into your pyramid pose. If you can go lower, and you know that, you can put your hands down to blocks or the floor. Nice full breaths, following the breath all the way in and all the way out. So one more breath. And now we're going to bend the front knee so we can step forward. Get your feet right underneath you again, hips distance apart. And we'll bend our knees and press into our feet and rise up and inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. So take your time, shake it out just a little bit. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to make sure that everybody's comments are okay. Nothing seems wrong with sound or lights. And we're going to come on into Warrior 2 this time. So coming into side-facing warrior, right? The right foot is going to step back. Sometimes it's about parallel to the back edge of your mat. Sometimes sending your heel back further works better. So just be mindful. Let yourself line your heels up as best you can. And then bend that left knee no farther forward than your ankle. We're going to reach our arms on out nice and long, looking out over the top of our left hand. So your right hand reaches directly back. If you need to, turn your head and look and make sure it's right back from your shoulder. And then you can turn your gaze to look out over the top of your left hand, that front hand there. Now try pressing your feet gently away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet, feeling your hips. And then lowering our right hand down to our hip. We're going to straighten our left knee out and bring our left hand down for triangle. Now you may just want to put it right on your chair back, right? You may decide you want to lengthen your torso out over that front leg lower. Hand can be on your shin. You can bring your hand to your block. Low as you want to go. And then just be mindful here as you start to reach up through the right arm, straight up from your shoulder. Let your palm face forward. Let yourself just elongate through the spine here. Let the thighs engage upward. If your neck bothers you, you can just look down towards the ground. Or you can look up if it feels good to you to look up towards your hand. We're going to bend the left knee from here and come on back into Warrior 2, pressing those feet away from each other. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And from here, bring your hands straight up from your shoulders and a little bit higher now than your shoulders. 5-pointed star. So just imagine you're reaching up through the top of your head, out through the fingertips here now. Enjoy. And then we're going to come on forward. You might need to bend your knees as you come forward. Grab blocks if you want for underneath your hands. You can have your hands to the floor if you'd rather. Take your time. You can bend a knee at a time. Once you come into this wide-legged forward bend, if it feels good to let yourself bend one knee and then the other, take your time to ease your way here into it. And then come on back into center and see if you can walk your hands a little to the right. Doesn't have to be all the way to your foot. You can shift your block a little bit. You can walk all the way over to hold on to your right foot or ankle if you choose. And then we'll come back through center. Maybe just shift your block a little to the left, or you may want to let your hands walk all the way over towards your foot. Then we'll come on back into center. And now take your time. Now I'm going to grab 2 blocks because I love being supported by blocks when I'm in this pose sometimes, just to let myself be able to release into my breath easier, but this is up to you. Hands can be on the floor. You can hold your ankles. You can release all the way to let your head hang. This is up to you too, whether your knees are straight or bent. So take your time. Let yourself enjoy feeling your breath again, in and out. Bringing your awareness to focus on your breath. Following the breath all the way in and all the way out. And one more nice, full, deep breath. And then to come up, take your time. If you need to bring your feet together first, do. Take your time, let yourself rise on up to standing. Bringing your feet on together. And move through your feet if you need to, through your ankles. So sometimes warrior poses, you need to stretch your feet out a little bit. Circle your ankles a little bit. And we are going to do the other side for warrior 2. So left foot steps back, heels lined up. Doesn't matter how far apart your feet are, right? That front knee no farther forward than your ankle, and letting yourself, again, start to lift your left arm behind you. If you need to look at it, do. And then you can bring your gaze on back and rise your front arm, your right arm on up, looking right out over the top of that hand. Feel that energy now. It's like you're shooting sparks out through your fingertips, pressing the feet gently away from each other. And then let your left hand come to your left hip. We're going to straighten the right knee out for triangle, bringing the right hand down. Again, it can stay up high. You can decide if you want to lower your hand down. It can come down your leg. It can come to the block. Let yourself feel your thighs lifting up towards the hips. And then adding that top arm if your shoulder lets you. Palm faces forward, thighs lifting up. Take your time, if you like to look up, if your neck allows that, or if your neck is feeling a little iffy, you can look down. Maybe you'll find a little relief. We're going to bend that right knee. Press the feet a little away from each other to rise yourself back up. Get you right back into the core, right? And then bring your hands to your hips. We're going to turn our feet. This time we're going to come on forward right away. Come on into your wide-legged forward bend. And once you're there, bend a knee at a time. Take your time. Let it feel good. If you want to stay on one side, find that inner thigh, do. Find that long leg inner thigh, getting a nice stretch. And then when you're ready, come on back into center. And again, it is up to you. Use blocks, use support, use your elbows above your knees. So if it feels better to you to support your back, do it so that you're able to really let yourself release into your breath. So let your face find that softness, that real release all around your eyes and your mouth. Your forehead, imagine your forehead just smoothing out. And accepting those nice, full, deep breaths in and out. One more breath. And now to come up, take your time, walk your hands out. If you need to bring your feet together more before you rise up, do it. If you're dizzy, hold on to something if you have to. And then walk your feet together and move again through your feet and your ankles if you can. And let's come into, you can use your chair here for a little balance. I've got the pole here I like to use if I want to turn sideways. So I'll turn sideways here at first and let my left hand rest on something. Maybe the chair, right? Maybe the wall there if you're at home, and maybe you have a kitchen cabinet, whatever you have there. I used everything at home when I went back to practicing. It was really fun. So bringing your right foot in front of you, flex your foot like you're stepping up a step, right? You're stepping up a step. It can be a lower step. Doesn't have to be up high. You can let it be where you can. Maybe if you can, let your hands come to your heart and balance a little bit. If not, don't do it. Hold on for dear life to whatever you need to. And then we're going to think of opening that knee a little bit. Not a lot, not enough to throw your hips off. Hips are still square, but opening that knee out to the right a little bit. So take your time. Use support if you need, like with your hand on whatever you're using. And then we'll bring the knee back into the front. And now bring that foot down, send the foot behind you, and just flex your foot. Feel the right knee facing directly down towards the floor. Now, it doesn't mean you have to get your foot to get a thigh stretch. You've got one going right here. And you might even want to stay there and let your knee come back a little bit and come forward a little without holding your foot, right? Those of you who like to get your foot, you can press your foot into your hand and you can balance here if you want to try bringing your arm up. You can let the knee come back a little bit here too if you want, letting yourself come a little forward. Totally up to you. Take your time, use support that you need, and then we're going to release and come on down. And shake out a little bit. We're going to do the other side. So again, letting yourself now adjust to where you need to hold on to something. This time, bringing that foot up in front of you, left foot, and again, it can be a low step or a high step. If it feels better to hold on around the outside of your thigh, or to hold your knee, right? And then again, if you can, bring your hands to your heart. You can think of a little balance here. Bringing your gaze forward. Finding a focal point here. And then bringing your hand back to hold on if you need. We'll open the knee to the side a little bit. Not a lot. Again, you don't want to throw your hips off. You want to keep those hip pointers square there towards the wall you're looking at. And you can balance a little bit here if you want. Take your time. You can hold on. And then we'll come back through center. We're going to bring the foot behind us. And again, you don't have to hold the foot. You can flex it. Let your heel come in as much as you can. Let the knee point down. There's a quad stretch. If you like coming forward a little bit, you can. Sorry. So take your time. If you need to, you can come back with the knee a little bit. You can bend that supporting leg. And if you like to hold the foot with the hand, do that, pressing the foot into your hand. And again, if you want to balance, you can. You don't have to. Hold on if you want. Just make sure you're not locking that knee you're standing on, right? Let it feel good. And then we're going to come on down. Good. Shake it out. Let yourself from here just make circles with your hips like you're hula hooping a little bit. So the feet are kind of wider. Don't worry. Just get comfortable so you don't hurt your knees at all. And then just hula hoop the other way. Let the hips release there. Good. And then shake it out. We're going to come down onto the floor, if you can, onto our bellies. If you know being on the floor is not for you, don't do it. I'm going to try something different that I did Monday. I'm going to bring this down and see if that works better when we come down to the floor. So take your time. Let yourself come onto your belly with the feet back towards the foot of the mat, and come on actually onto your forearms if you can. With your forearms parallel, your elbows under your shoulders in Sphinx pose, palms face down, right? Now if this is too much for your back, don't do it. Come down lower, slide your elbows more towards your waist, or even put the arms up higher if that's better for your shoulders. So coming into this back bend where it feels good to you, and just release and breathe here. And then we'll come down, bring our arms down alongside the body, and let them be hands on the floor really, not on the mat. And then when you inhale, float up into a little locust. Like everything you can imagine lifting up. Let it lift up. Reach your toes and fingertips back towards the wall behind you. little shallow breaths here when you're up in your locust. And then we're going to come down. We're going to roll onto our left side and let ourselves line our bodies up. So let yourself get comfortable here so that you feel like you're standing in your mountain pose, right? And lift that top foot a little bit off the bottom leg. It doesn't matter what side you're on. You can follow along with this either way. And you can have your top hand on the floor or not. You know, you can let yourself balance here, using the core body. And now we're going to kind of imagine coming into a side-lying tree pose. So bringing this top foot onto the inside of the bottom leg. Now you can come up higher. You can bring the foot up into your inner thigh. But remember what we just did, squaring the hips. You don't want the knee to come way back and throw your hips and your belly forward, right? So you can decide, keeping your hand on the floor, keeping the foot lower is fine. You can even stretch the arms up overhead if you want to, if that feels really good. But just enjoy, really letting yourself press gently into the outside edge of that long bottom leg, right? Good, so one more breath. Good, and then we're going to come on down. We're going to roll back to our bellies again. And again, bring your arms down alongside you. Turn your palms down towards the floor. And as you inhale, float up. Now, it might be just a tiny bit. You don't have to be high, way up high with your upper or lower body in order to be using your back. So you come where you can there. And then we'll release back down. We're going to roll to the other side, right? So letting yourself switch sides. Take your time here now and just be mindful as you stretch out. Get your feet right underneath you. And make sure that you're not a banana, right? That you don't have your legs way back behind you with your belly hanging out or way, way forward. Take your time. Lift that bottom leg. And again, you can take your top hand off the floor if you want. And then we're going to bring the foot. Again, that top foot comes to the inside either of your calf, or you can bring it on up if you want for this side-lying tree pose. You can press, keep your hand on the floor if you need. You can press into the outside edge of that long bottom leg. And, you know, you can stretch your arms up if you want, if that feels good. You know, you can just let it feel like a tree pose that's totally balanced. Here you are on the floor, and you can just extend through the whole body here. One more breath. Good. And then we're going to come on back to our bellies again. This time, come onto your forearms again. Clasp your hands. Send your pinky finger out, and we'll come up either to a half forearm plank where we bend the knees and we're on the flesh above the knees, pressing into the forearms here, drawing your elbows back towards the foot of your mat. Or put your toes down, lift yourself up, and come into that full forearm plank if you choose. So you find what works for you. Take your time and breathe. And then we're going to release and come on back down. And we're going to shift back towards pose of a child. And only you know, once you start to shift your hips back, big toes together, knees apart as far as you want your knees apart, and starting to shift your hips back. If it bothers your knees or your hips, don't do it. Stay forward. You can always kind of shift forward onto your forearms here, or you can shift all the way back if it's fine for your hips and your knees. Arms can stay soft overhead, or you may choose to bring your arms back alongside your legs with the palms up. Nice full breaths. Feel the breath coming in now to your low back. I mean, if you can even put your hands there for a second and imagine breathing into your hands there on your low back. So you're actually expanding the low back as you inhale every time. one more breath. And we'll bring our hands by our knees if we're in full child's pose. We're going to come on up and we're going to bring ourselves on around to, if you're on your mat at home, you're going to be sideways, so you can bring your legs on out into a little bit of a wide angle. Now, here's a spot where you might want to grab a blanket, you know. If you know that this pose is like not so much fun, if you get up a little higher, it can be easier. You can be off your mat and have your heels on your mat and have your legs closer together. You want your knees and your toes facing up, right? So there's no point in trying to force your legs apart. This has to do totally with how you're built, right? How you're built in your hips. Nothing else. Not like how well you can stretch. So sit comfortably. Think about kind of pinning your inner and your outer thighs down towards the ground. And let yourself release, if you can, sitting up tall here now. If you need your hands behind you to keep that length upward, then use them. Otherwise, you can have them on your legs here, sitting up here. And then come just a little bit forward. And even if you just keep your hands back and come a little bit, what we're thinking of doing is sending our tailbone back a little bit at a diagonal line. And really our sit bones too. They'll come off the floor. If you come forward and feel your inner thighs. Heels, draw them back down. They're on the floor. Draw them back towards you a little bit so you're engaged. And it doesn't matter whether you're coming an inch forward or some of you lying out onto the floor, right? If that feels good for you. So just be where you can. Let your inner thighs get a nice release here. Let the hips open up a little deeper, which is where we carry a lot of tension in the hips. And then we're going to make our way on back up. And let your right hand come to your right shin there. Slide it down, maybe towards your ankle, maybe all the way to your foot. And then from there, let your left hand trail up by your ribs and just put your hand behind your head for just a second. Let yourself open up there into a side stretch. Now, if you want to stretch the arm long from there, do it. And then we're going to rise on back up. And left hand comes down, slides down. We're just going to make our way to the other side. So you go as far as you choose. And then let your top hand, right hand, slide on there. And let the hand just rest briefly at the back of your head. Or maybe stay there. That might feel the best for you. Or it might feel really good to extend your arm long into that side stretch. So just be where you're able to be, where it feels that feeling of finding all the space there through the side of the body, space between your ribs, and then we'll come on back up. Bring your hands behind you this time. And then just let your hands walk back and open your chest. It's like somebody has a string attached to your sternum and they're drawing it forward and up just a little bit so you can open through the front of the body here. Now look wherever's comfortable for your neck. It's better to look forward, if you like looking all the way. Oh, having something right behind your head like a pole is great, or the wall. And then we'll make our way on back up and bring our legs on around in front of us. And now, if you can, send your feet out and separate them a little wider and let your knees just come from one side to the other. You're just easily letting the knees come one way and then the other. And it doesn't mean you have to go all the way to the floor with the knees. That is up to you too. And then come on back to center. And some of you, bring your feet more to where they're more like hips distance apart. Some of you might need to stay right here and turn your hands out about 45 degrees and just lift your chest from here. And I know some of you might want to do four-footed table. So if you do, hands can again be turned out if that's better for your shoulders, or you can face your fingertips forward and then lift up like you're becoming a table, really. Flat there. You can look up at the ceiling, or you can look forward like I'm doing so that you don't find stress there in your neck. You don't have to stay that long. You can come down whenever you want. And then when you're ready, letting yourself come on down to the floor here. And hold on there to your shins for a second, and then let your head come forward, release there through your neck. And then we'll make our way on up. And we're going to lie down on the floor here now. So if you know that it feels better for you to have a blanket underneath your head, right? So if when you lie down, your chin rises up, just put a blanket behind your head there. Lay on a little pillow, not a thick one, just enough to get yourself aligned. And then once you get down there, let your knees come on into your chest. Release the knees a little bit side to side. So try this. Try when you bring your knees to the left, turn your head to the right. And just the opposite. When you bring your knees to the right, turn your head to the left. And let yourself just feel that little massage through the low back. It doesn't matter how close your knees are into you. You may have them a little farther out if it feels better to you. And then come on back into center, and let's open the knees out so that we come into hands either to our shins. So the hands just come into the inside. You can hold your ankles or your shins. If you know your hips allow you to wrap your hands around the outside edges of your feet and the whole soles of the feet come together in your body, this is called Baddha Konasana, then you can do that, but it's not necessary. Good hip opener right here, just staying so that the feet aren't even quite touching. Just let it be very easy. Let your knees, imagine your knees are reaching away from each other. And if you want a little more, send your tailbone down towards the ground a bit. And one more breath. And then we'll bring our knees on back and let your feet come to the floor. Stretch your arms overhead for a second. And then just listen to your own body. Is there a certain pose you need to do if you've been doing yoga for a long time? Or maybe you just want to reach your legs up and do an old bicycle, or stretch yourself out, full length. Just let your body do whatever it needs right now, because we are getting ready to come into Shavasana, our final relaxation pose, which is lying on your backs with either knees bent, if that's more comfortable for you, or support underneath your knees. I'm sorry, I'm not there to bring you a bolster for underneath your knees if you need one. Or you can stretch your legs long when you come into your Shavasana and bring your arms out beside you if you're comfortable to relax that way. But you really want to be comfortable, so if you need to finish off a pose right now and let yourself move a little bit more, do. And when you do start to settle in for your Shavasana now, get really comfortable with where you have your arms and your legs. There's no right or wrong. You just want to be really comfortable so the arms and legs feel relaxed, and you can feel that relaxation up into your shoulders and your hips. So just be really mindful and if you need to let your head turn a little side to side to let your neck release, do. And if you find after a couple, a few seconds here that you're not comfortable and you need to move around to get more comfortable, do. And get whatever kind of support helps you, under your knees or under your head. And Shavasana is really the time that we give our bodies and our brains time to benefit from all we just did, simply by watching our breaths as they come in and go out. So you're just watching the wave of your breath. And the wave of our breaths can be really quieting, just like if you were watching the waves at the beach. If you were at a lake or at the beach in the ocean and watching waves coming in and going out. And when your mind wanders away from your breath, see if you can just softly come back, focusing back to the breath over and over again. And you'll find these quiet places. And then maybe you'll start thinking again, and that's fine. Just let yourself have these few minutes. I'm not going to come back on. I will hope that all of you can enjoy a nice long Shavasana, just allowing yourself to completely and fully relax.